Hello, friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Golly, so great to see some of you. Holly Ivans has joined us, Sue Me, and then Robin in Virginia, Robin in VA. Welcome. So good to see y'all. We'll wait a couple of minutes to see how many people show up here really quickly. But gosh, so my apologies. I went to the eye doctor today and I spent 2 hours there with the eye doctor. So I think I'm still dilated. And I tried wearing my sunglasses, my prescription sunglasses, and but then I can't read the screen. And I tried with these things that they gave me. Oh, have you seen the new ones they give you when you go to the doctor? What do I do with them? I just had them. Oh, there they are. Look at this. These are those like kind of like the kids slap up things, but these are kind of red tinted, and I really can't see anything with them. But they gave me these so I could drive home. Yeah. What do you think? Does that look good? What? And but anyhow, so if I look like at times I'm in pain or anything, it's because I have this O light here and then the light up there trying to so y'all can see me. And it's whoa, when you have dilated eyes, it's not the best thing in the world. So I'm also having a little bit of a hard time reading the comments, so bear with me on that if you would, please. Thank you so much. I saw Triple G Farms come in. Hello, welcome. Idaho Insider, welcome. Great to see you. KP Heathen, our friend from Louisiana, welcome. Celtic Grandma's here as well. Oh, that's fine. I got your text message, and I fully understand there, Triple G. Please be safe. You're an extremely valuable asset to this channel. So please be safe and get home safely. That you know, I am so lucky with the caliber of people that I have who follow this channel regularly, and the way you interact with each other, the way you teach me, the way you teach each other, the way you interact. Just, I am so blessed. Thank you all so very much. You're so valuable to not only to me, but I hope you're valuable to the other members of this channel, because I think we're all in this together. We're doing it together. We're learning together. We're sharing. Good evening, Pat Butler. Good to see you as well. Gosh, I'm going to do this book, and who was it? Theoxorus. Said he got his copy of the book yesterday, and he was able to read the first, what we'll be covering tonight. And as a matter of fact, I think he read it while we were on the live last night. So I think he's fully prepared for tonight as well. So this is a great book. I'm not going to go through everything because, I want this author to get book sales. I don't want to give everything away. I want him to get book sales. He put an awful lot into writing this book. It's a phenomenal book. Same thing with what's Blaine Pardoe's book, Blue Dawn. Phenomenal book. I really want you to buy his book. It's an outstanding book. Then I am getting ready for our end of this month fiction novel, which is Exploring Home. I did 3 chapters of that before I went to the doctor today. Great. That's great as well. I've already got some notes started on critical things that learnings that we have in that book, and we'll be talking about at the end of the month. So just some great prepper ideas and learning in that book. Just phenomenal. I tell you, so far, I am 99.99% pleased with the books that we've had in the club and what we've got. I am finishing up a book that was recommended to us by one of our followers from Miami. I don't know. I'm going to just say Florida, from the Florida region, and Maggie. And she recommended I read the Great Depression, an autobiography or a diary by Roth. And wow. I mean, reading that every day, just a couple of pages every day, it's like they're taking stuff out of the current news. It's just, you can't believe it. You've got to read that book as well. I'll put a link to it in this video. Really great book. I don't think we're going to do it as a book club book, but it's a great book you need to read. Of course, I think I put them up already. I'm also doing a lesson in this one every day. Does the Bible really say that? And then I've got Edward Sree's book that I'm reading about the ties of the Mass to ancient Jewish history and stuff like that, and the traditions in the temple and all that, and how that all comes together. So it's just, gosh, I got so much going on. Great books, great books, great books. Love this one. So let's get into this one. I think we've had enough time now where we got a lot of people. Little Lone Prepper, hello, welcome. Theoxorus, you must have heard me talking about you. I told people that you had gotten your book last night, and I think you read what we were supposed to read for tonight during last night's live. And you can multitask. You also provided a lot of great input into last night in government and civics. And so, you're going to keep me straight here, buddy. I'm counting on you. Let me see who else. Diana 2 and Celtic Grandma. Yeah, we've already said hello to those. Okay, so this is designed to be a week-by-week program for you. So it's designed where you can do one project a week. It's also got a $10 a week purchase program, so that at the end of 52 weeks, you would have 2,000 calories each for 2 people for a total of 10 months, I believe. So right at 40 weeks. So we need to bump that up a little bit. I'll bump that up for you here in the discussion. And as a matter of fact, we might even start off with the introduction here, and that's going to be just a lot of great information in the introduction, especially. So he talks about food safety issues to start off with. He talks about the conditions for botulism to exist. It must be in an anaerobic condition. That means no oxygen. Well, guess what? What we're going to be talking about tonight is when we store our foods, we got to get rid of the oxygen, because we want the oxygen to be gone so that it doesn't make the food go bad. Well, that's exactly what you have to have for botulism to exist. So in order to make it safe for long-term storage, we're also making it amenable for botulism to grow. But it has to have several of these factors. So number 2, it has to have temperature above 39 degrees Fahrenheit. So the colder you keep your long-term food storage, the better, okay? It has to have moisture. So hopefully you are taking all the moisture out of your long-term food storage. So not only are you, well, except for some canning. And we'll talk about that as a separate issue. But, moisture has to exist, and then a pH greater than 4.6, which, remember, pH, if it's less than 7, it's acidic. And if it's more than 7, it's base or alkaline. So botulism grows primarily in an alkaline environment, not in an acidic environment. So chances of finding it in tomatoes are kind of rare. It's almost any home-canned item, you will create the first 3 conditions. So when you home can, you're going to have anaerobic, you're going to get rid of the oxygen, it's going to be stored above 39 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's going to have some moisture left in it. So all 3 of those exist, which is a good opportunity for botulism. So how do you identify whether or not you have botulism in your food storage? Well, there are a couple good ways. Number 1, look to see, before you open a can, look to see if it's bulging, swollen, or leaking. I had a can of, I bought it from Emergency Essentials, and it was a can of cake mix. Gosh, it was when we lived in our old house. So this had to be about 20 years ago. And when we moved here, somehow or other, I left it in the garage. I don't know how that happened, but I left it in the garage. When I finally found it, because we tried to get 3,700 square feet down into 1,400 square feet when we downsized after I retired. We wanted a smaller house, less taxes, all that kinds of stuff. So a lot of stuff got left in the garage. And this one can, I think it's because of the built-in yeast, because it had in the cake mix, man, it looked like it was ready to explode. And so I had to throw that away right off the bat, because that bulging can tells you there is something wrong with the contents inside. Another thing you might want to do is just press down to see if it's got a vacuum still. So when you vacuum seal something, the top is going to kind of go down a little bit. If it starts coming up, or if you can pop it and it goes back and forth, that tells you have a bad seal. So damaged or cracked containers. If you have a little bit of a dent in the side of the can, be concerned about it, but not as concerned as if it's on the seal. So remember, when you make a can, what you're doing is you're taking a flat piece of steel or aluminum or whatever, you're wrapping it, and then where it comes around, you're going to seal this joint up here. So that you got that seal there. As long as you don't have any dents on that, because that's where you're going to develop your first leaks, or along the rims, either on the top or bottom, that's also another one of those pressure points where you can lose your seal the easiest. As long as you don't have those dents in there, it's probably safe, but still be skeptical. If this can spurts at you or hisses at you or anything like that, be suspect, okay? Don't eat it. And if the food is moldy, off-colored, or smells bad, don't eat it. I will tell you, this evening we made, what's it called? Basically ground beef patties with brown gravy and mushrooms and onions. Not sirloin steaks, Salisbury steaks. We made Salisbury steaks for dinner tonight. And everything that we ate except for the hamburger patties was out of our long-term storage. I had a package of brown gravy mix that was from 2015. I had a can of mushrooms that was from 2017. We used onion soup mix, the onion type stuff there for the onions in the gravy, because I cannot find canned, or except for the French fried onions, I can't find onions long-term storage. I did an extensive search over the weekend. I finally found one of my favorite manufacturers, Nellie's. They have the best red cabbage, jarred red cabbage on the market. They also have red beets. They have a couple other things. But I found out that they have the little pearl onions. So I ordered some of those from Amazon. They're supposed to be delivered today. If the doorbell rings while we're doing this, they're delivering my pearl onions from Nellie's. And I want to have some of those available. I have more than enough freeze-dried, but I do want to have some jarred onions for salads and things like that. So, we took out of our food pantry for our dinner this evening, and it was great. I'm still alive too. So that was over 3 hours ago, and I'm still alive. Let's check into, let me get my face up here closer where I can read with these dilated eyes and see where we are in the chat. And then we'll go on to the next little portion here. So, gosh, an awful lot of chat. I've been talking an awful lot and not paying attention to my favorite people here. Okay, so I've said hello to all of you all, and Celtic Grandma and Holly Ivans. Pat Butler came, Grandma Phioxerus came in, and then I saw some. Okay, so Phioxerus says, I'm making dog treats tonight, so don't expect a lot of participation. Stinking up the house when I can't open the windows. Should have done it this morning. Well, at least you're doing something constructive. You're doing better than I am. I've never made dog treats, so I'll have to learn that from you. Well, Sumi, I will tell you that this says it's $10 a week, but I will tell you that the copyright on this is 2022, so it's probably 2 years old. So I'm going to say it's probably gone up about 50 to 60% in prices. So I would say that what they're saying is $10 a week is probably now $15 a week here in the States, at least, possibly even $16 a week. So I would imagine Canadian, it's going to be 20, maybe 20, 23, somewhere around in there. Let me see. So Phioxerus got a 2021 edition as well. And, okay, he says it's 40 plus in his area. So, no, I agree, Pat Butler. That's a great question. I would love to see an answer to that, and maybe sometime we can invite him on and have him teach us on the show. Terry in Radar's World, welcome. Good to see you. Been dehydrating pumpkin and butternut squash. I get my butternut squash from Thrive Life. I have not gotten any pumpkin from them. I do get canned pumpkin. That is one of the things that I do have in my prepper pantry is some canned pumpkin. Got to have some pumpkin pie. Phioxerus cans sardines in oil, 8 ounces of sweet potatoes, 3 cups of oatmeal flour, 1. Oh, okay. So this is his recipe for his dog treats. Wow. All right. Thank you, sir. We'll have to save this, and we'll have to put it in the show notes that there's a dog treat formula included. Actually, with the way the modern hybrid tomatoes have been of decreasing acidity for the last few years, now they actually do recommend the addition of additional acid in the form of citric. Oh, wow. I did not know that. Thank you for sharing that. So lemon juice, basically, is what they're saying. And that's the one I'm talking about when they roll the can. Just a minute. I got the can that we opened tonight for this evening. So we had a can of corn with our dinner. So. Okay, that didn't take long. Not far from the dining room table to the kitchen. So I'm talking about this seam right here. Okay, where they basically join that flat piece of steel after they turn it into after they coil it. Then they seal it here, and that's where you have that joining area to make it into a can. So that's what I'm talking about. I think we're talking about the same thing. Let me see. Sophie Oxford rolls it out like cookie dough and bakes it at 350 for about 15 to 20 minutes each side. Do you cut that before you bake it, or do you cut that after you bake it? It would seem like it'd be easier to cut up into smaller dog-sized, bite-sized treats if you did it before you baked it. But I don't know. That's why I'm asking. Nellie's Pickled Beets. So you're another Nellie's fan. All right. Hello, Kitty Chapman from Montana. Welcome. One of my best friends in the Army was from Bozeman. Gosh, he talked an awful lot about that. He wanted us to come up there and see Bozeman, but it's a little bit too close to Yellowstone for my liking. But I tell you what, everything I've heard about Montana is that it's just a gorgeous state. Yes, and so small dents, same thing here. I don't mind a small dent. As a matter of fact, I think I want the job at some of the stores. I think it's mandatory that you put some dents in the sides of the cans before you stock them. And then, of course, at my age, sometimes you drop them too. So, that can be another one of those dilemmas. Okay, so we're there. Okay, so we got through the food safety tips. So now let's go into the $10 weekly food storage program. So this is what we're going to recommend that you pick up. And it's probably going to cost you somewhere around, I'm going to say it's probably going to cost you somewhere around $80 to $100. Okay. And we're going to try to do this on a weekly basis. If nothing else, if you don't have the book, write down these 4 things that you'll be buying for the next week. But I also strongly recommend you get this book. It's a great book. So number 1, 6 pounds of salt. It doesn't specify what kind of salt. I'm going to assume that this is salt for eating. So maybe iodized or Himalayan or something like that. I am in the process right now. If you've noticed my last couple of food hauls, I've been getting more and more canning salt and pickling salt. And I'll explain that to you as we get into the first 4 chapters. Then he recommends 5 cans of cream of chicken soup. So in my prepper pantry haul this last weekend, I explained, I think there are 4 soups that are essential that everybody has in their prepper pantry. Cream of mushroom, cream of chicken, tomato, and onion, French onion soup. So with those 4 soups, you can pretty much make any soup, larger soup that you want to, and really have gourmet type meals. So I take it they're kind of agreeing with me here because he's recommending that you get 5 cans of cream of chicken soup. I noticed later on he's going to recommend that you also get the cream of mushroom. Number 3, 20 pounds of sugar. And then number 4, 8 cans of tomato soup. So there we go. We've got 3 of the 4 that I recommend, he's recommending also. So go through that again. 6 pounds of salt, 5 cans of cream of chicken soup, 20 pounds of sugar, and 8 cans of tomato soup. So we've got that part done. I'm going to put a check mark there that we've covered that much. And remember, if you do this every week for the 13 weeks we'll be doing this, at the end, you'll have 2,000 calories per person for 2 people for 10 months. So it's not quite a full year's worth. I know we have a lot of single people on this channel. So you can probably half that and still have the amount of stuff. But here's the issue that I have with having things and only getting half of what they recommend. And I think somebody mentioned it in one of my videos as a comment, and it is such an appropriate comment. I think it needs to be stated here too. And that is, I find it extremely difficult, which is why I concentrate on freeze-dried and dehydrated foods, is because I can take a scoop or 2 out of a can, and that can's going to remain, as long as I keep it somewhere, dark and not immerse it in water or expose it to water or anything like that. Most of the dehydrated freeze-dried foods will last a year once you unseal them, okay? Meats are an exception. Dairy products are an exception. They only last about 3 to 6 months. So that's why I bought the smallest cans I could, because I knew that once I opened them, I wanted to use them as quickly as possible instead of a big number 10 can, because, will that last me a year, or will I use it before a year's up, or will it spoil? So I wanted to use the smallest container possible so that way I didn't have any leftovers. I didn't have any spoilage. Same thing when we talk about canned goods and bulk items that we're going to be storing for prepper pantries. It makes no sense for the 2 of us if we didn't have refrigeration available to us in a post-apocalyptic world. It would make no sense to us to have, say, a 14.5 ounce can of something that we aren't going to eat at that meal, that we'd have leftovers and not be able to store. That's difficult in planning for the 2 of us. So for those of you who are all by yourselves, I understand the dilemma. I wish I had a good, solid solution for you. But, I think maybe buying the 6.5 ounce cans instead of the 14.5 ounce cans might be that solution for you, so that you have the smaller cans so that you don't have any waste if you don't have access to refrigeration after you open a can. Now, here's the dilemma that you have, is it's going to cost you more to get the smaller can. So the question is, do you want to spend more money and get less food and not have any waste? Or do you want to spend less money, get more food, and then possibly throw it away? You can make an argument either way. Originally, I went for the smaller cans. Now I'm going for the bigger cans. So I've been on both sides of that coin. So for those of you who are all by yourselves, I empathize with you. Bring your stuff here and we'll all get together. How's that? So Sumi says probably about $30 a week. So that means that what I just gave you would probably be about $120. Yeah, I want that job. I think it's a professional job. Somebody has to be denting those cans on intentionally. That's got to be it. Sumi makes her own pickled beets. I do. So I shop at 1 or 2 places for food. I either shop at, that place that's headquartered in Bentonville, Arkansas, or we have our own statewide grocery store here, HEB. Howard E. Butts is the owner or the founder. And but those are the 2 places I buy. And I do find a lot more dented cans at the Bentonville, Arkansas store than I do at HEB. I can say that. Somebody was saying that they think it's because of the way they quickly unload them off the pallets, off of the semis when they come in, that those forklifts, they just don't care where they stick them. And, there may be some truth to that. I don't know. So Diana too, the last time I ordered Yoder's bacon, One of they wrapped them. I ordered 2 cans. They wrapped them in plastic. They wrapped them in bubble wrap. One can was busted. I mean, busted wide open. The bacon was exposed. And so I took a picture of it and sent it to them. They sent me a replacement can. I'm sure that was fairly expensive, but they did send me a replacement can. So, let them know, especially on Amazon, if you are getting dented or damaged packages, especially food products. Yes, I did too. And I had to get one. I haven't tried it yet, but I did get one. That's fantastic. Cream of jalapeno. Oh, wow. Okay. So that's a good idea as well, Diana, too. That's a fantastic idea. So instead of having, let's say, to open 2 cans for a meal, you just open one, but make sure you eat all of it, and then open the other can for the other meal. That's a good philosophical way of doing that, and I think that's wise. You've got a great idea there. So I have 2 cans coming in tonight. I have that jar of onions, and what's the other one I have coming this evening? I forget, but I did put in my order with Thrive Life. That's going to be drastically reduced here in the near future. I took it up to $200 a month, and I spent $199, I think, this last month. My order that went in on the 4th. I'm not going to spend that much anymore. I know that the price is going up, and I'm not going to get as much as I used to get for the same amount of money. But I'm going to try to keep it right around $100 to $125 a month at max. I just can't sustain this kind of expense. I don't know about you, but I wish I had more money. I buy plastic wrapped cases of individual cans of Dole pineapple juice. In this case, there was a few of the interior cans dented on the sides. Oh, wow. Yes, absolutely. It doesn't make sense that they would be dented if they're in the middle of that container. So Pat Butler says she does the same thing. A can of vegetables can be very filling, especially if you have meat with it. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Chapter 1, or Project 1, identifying and procuring food grade buckets for storage. So they go through the 7 major types of plastics and which ones are safe for food storage and which ones are not. That also gives you a hint at the same time as to which ones are recyclable and not. So PET or PETE, polyethylene terephthalate, is clear, rough, and has good gas and moisture barrier properties. It's commonly called polyester. Type 2 is HDPE or high density polyethylene. It's used for milk, juice, and water containers because of its protective barrier properties. So don't automatically assume it has to be marked food safe in order for you to get it for food storage. PVC is polyvinyl chloride, or PVC, and it's excellent clarity, puncture resistance, and cling. It's used to make plastic food wrap, shrink wrap, garden hoses, and shoe soles, and that's okay for food. Number 4 is LDPE, low density polyethylene. It offers clarity and flexibility. Because of its strength and roughness, it is used as a film to make grocery bags and garbage bags, shrink and stretch film, and coating for milk cartons, but not necessarily food safe. PP, polypropylene, has high tensile strength, making it ideal for use in caps and lids, and it has to hold tightly onto threaded openings. So it's designed to cool in bottles, including ketchup, and so you can put hot stuff inside this top. This one here, that's the PP top, is going to shrink as the contents are cooled down. That is not recyclable, believe it or not. In order to recycle this bottle, my water bottle, I have to cut the label off and separate it and throw it in the trash. And then this lid has to be put in the trash because neither one of those is recyclable. Then the next one is PS, polystyrene, colorless plastic that can be clear and hard. It can be foamed to provide exceptional insulation properties. It's also used for packaging and protecting appliances, electronics, and other sensitive products. Don't eat it, okay? And don't use it for food. And then the other one is number 7, which is other, and don't use other for storing food, okay? So you purchase your new buckets that are marked food grade. They are a little bit more expensive. You can get either the screw tops or you can get the bung tops. If you get the bung tops, make sure you get a bucket opener. You're going to need that, especially if you use some of the sealing techniques we're going to talk about later. I broke the lip on trying to get into one of my buckets. I put in dry ice. I think I told you that in the previous video. I like to use dry ice. So I'll have all my buckets laid out. I'll go to the store, get some dry ice. I'll break it down into chunks about the size of half of my thumb. And then I'll put that on something like a piece of cardboard or a lid, something where it's not going to come in direct contact with flour or pasta or anything like that. And so remember that dry ice is carbon dioxide. So as it melts, carbon dioxide is heavier than air. So it goes down, the air comes up, and you get yourself a great seal. So I just lay the seal of the bucket on top of the bucket. And then as the air comes out and the carbon dioxide fills it, then I put the top down, and then it kind of creates a little bit of a vacuum seal. And when that happens, trying to get that lid off, almost every time I try to take one of those lids off, I break the lid, and I have to get a replacement lid in order to keep it sealed for a longer term. So now I don't seal it until I have it absolutely completely full. Because I'm tired of breaking lids. They get rather expensive. Number 2, salvage used buckets that have already been used to store food and haven't been used for anything else. You can go to these sandwich shops, like Subway and places like that, that use an awful lot of mustard or flour. You get flour in those buckets at pizza places. You can go to some of these restaurants, quick food restaurants, etc., and ask them. I used to get the ones that had the pickles in them. The pickle slices. And so the sandwich shop would get the pickles in these big 5-gallon food buckets, and they just throw them away. So you can go and ask them for them. I think there's enough preppers out now to where they're starting to charge for them like $1 a bucket or something like that. But I'll tell you what, $1 a bucket beats $12 a bucket. Okay. Just go to your local fast food joint and see if they have any buckets that they're willing to give you or sell you. So have 4 jars lids coming and more canning jars to stock up. Absolutely fantastic, Sumi. Hopefully I'll be reading the comments. Remind me. I want to talk about that when we get into canning, which is chapter 4. Y'all would be horrified to know that I am not fanatical about using an open can immediately or refrigerating leftovers before they cool. You know what? When I was living off of the old Army C rations, I wasn't either. So don't worry about it. And I'm still here, and that was over 50 years ago. Okay, so I don't freeze my rice either. One of the things that you can do that does the same thing about protecting you against mites and weevils and things like that is to put a bay leaf in with your powdered goods and your rice. And so that bay leaf will keep those insects at bay. Is a terrible pun. Will keep the insects down as far as not allowing them to take over your bucket. I don't know about basil. I'm sorry. I just don't know the answer to that. If somebody else knows the answer to that, I'd greatly appreciate you sharing it. Hello, Utah Mike. Welcome. Holly, I hope you feel better very soon. Hope everyone's staying positive and enjoying. Maggie, there she is. I was talking about your book on the Great Depression and how I read a couple pages every morning that you recommend, the book you recommended to me. And I read a couple pages every morning. It's like reading the headlines in the newspaper. It's on a daily basis. It's unbelievable how appropriate that book is to today in 2024. So we're looking at I think Mr. Roth started his diary in 1931. You can correct me. I think you're a little bit more familiar with it than I am. And I'm up to 1938 now. But, you read what's going on, and by gosh, we can just change the dates to 2024, and it's going to be spot on. So welcome, Maggie. Always good to see you. Maggie also just recently got a food freeze dryer. So these 4 chapters here we're talking about tonight are in Maggie's purview. So I'm sure she's going to get all kinds of great information to us as we discuss this topic. So welcome. Let me see, get down here. Yes, I like the screw-on lids as well. And we have, as a matter of fact, we use 2 of those with the screw-on lids and for our dog food containers. So I have one in our pantry number 2, and I have one in our kitchen working pantry. And so we kind of alternate them. So that way, when I get a 20-pound bag of dog food, I can pour it into that and it doesn't go stale. So that's what I like about them. So Diana too is reinforcing what I said about using the bay leaves. Oh no, Celtic Grandma, I'm so sorry. Take care of yourself and get some rest. And I know, and that can be uncomfortable for a couple of days. So just take care of yourself, get some rest. And whatever you do, don't smoke and don't do any alcohol, because you don't want to lose that plug. Okay. You don't want to have an exposed root. You want to take care of that plug and make sure that everything heals up well, and gargle with salt water. So I'm sure your dentist, your oral surgeon told you that when he extracted it, before he put you out, if you got put out. So Diana too says that they're $3. Those food buckets, pickle buckets, $3 where she is. So that's still not bad. That's 1/4 the price you're going to pay for a new one. Let me see here. Well, thank you, Maggie. We miss seeing you in the comments. Okay, so I think I'm caught up here. Let's get down here. So Little Lone Pepper says she gets gallon jars of pickle juice from some of the mom and pop restaurants. I use the juice to pickle eggs or beef. Oh, wow. That's a great idea. Thank you. Okay, so let's get into project number 2. So this would be your second week, and that is, now that you've got your bucket, how do you store your foods? And so they talk about storing it with dry ice. So they use that same concept that I do, that dry ice, as it melts, is carbon dioxide. It's heavier than air. It displaces the air comes out of the bucket. You just have to make sure you're using the right amount. So when I have a bucket full of, let's say, elbow macaroni, I'm going to use, there's an awful lot of air inside that macaroni. So I'm going to use a little bit more. I'm probably going to use 2 thumbs, the size of 2 thumbs of carbon dioxide for that. When I have, let's say, when I fill it with flour, I'm probably going to use anywhere between a half a thumb to a thumb full of carbon dioxide to displace the oxygen, because it's a little bit more densely packed. Speaking of densely packed, so and we'll talk about this when we talk. I think it's. I'll wait. I'll show you. I've got. Yeah, it's the next project after this one, but I'll show you what it looks like. But anyhow, so they wrap everything in paper so that it doesn't get that burn from the frozen carbon dioxide. So he says that in his book, he says they add 1 cc of carbon dioxide, of dry ice at a time. I'm not that scientific. I just go for the gusto. And what happens is I will buy the smallest possible brick of carbon dioxide I can get at the grocery store, okay, and bring it home. And I may have 5 or 6 buckets that I'm canning. So in reality, what happens is, depending upon how quickly I get that all set up and everything, I may just take that brick and divide it up into 6 pieces and throw it into the 6 buckets. And there's no measuring whatsoever. Now, don't tell anybody that that's what I do, because I know that's not scientific. It's not the best way in the world, but that's just reality. That's the way I do it. Okay, so that's project number 2. And where are we time-wise? We're at 40 minutes. We need to get the other 2 projects done in less than 20 minutes. Project number 3 is using a Coroplast to vacuum seal Mylar. So what they're talking about is the vacuum sealer equipment. So when you get there are 2 ways that you can do this. You can either get the vacuum sealer bags at like Walmart or your grocery store or whatever, which is primarily what I use. There are some things that I will only put in Mylar bags, and I do have oxygen absorbers. So what I will quite often do is lay all my bags out. I'll put the oxygen absorbers in there, and then I start vacuum sealing the bags. Okay. Well, what happens is if you don't get to it real quick, some of those oxygen absorbers aren't going to be that good. By the time you get to it, you're just going to have to add more. So let me show you. What I do is I just use, and this is cornmeal. So what I've done is I just took and I do the cut to your own size vacuum sealer bags. So then I seal the bottom, of course, and I put the top into the vacuum sealer bag. And you can see this is a brick, okay? I mean, it has sucked all of the air out of this. So I have no qualms whatsoever about keeping this in my storage for 15 years, okay? I think this is going to be safe and it's going to be good. And so I get the Pioneer yellow cornmeal. I can make mush. I can make hush puppies. I can make all kinds, polenta. I can make all kinds of stuff with that. So cornmeal flour, I do that way. I used to get my flour primarily from the LDS Provident Living Store. A number 10 can of flour is about a 6-pound can of flour. And that was only costing like $6, $1 a pound. And it's in a can. The disadvantage to doing it this way, okay? The disadvantage is this is not very easy to stack and store, okay? So it's kind of cumbersome, and I have to rebox it, and then you lose space when you put it in a box or in a tote tray or something like that. Whereas with the number 10 cans, they stack very easily on top of each other. So it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. And right now I'm trying to get as much food as possible at the cheapest price, because I think we're going to be needing it before the end of this year. So I'm not worried about, long-term storage, number 10 cans from the LDS store. I'm worried about getting as much food in the house as possible. So it all depends on what your priorities are as well. So I put this in my vacuum sealer, vacuum seal it, and it's good to go. The only thing in here is a bay leaf. There is no oxygen absorber. When I use the Mylar bags, I always put in an extra oxygen absorber, and man, those things just, they seal up like you would not believe. And the reason I do that is because they're a little bit wider than my vacuum seal machine. And so it doesn't necessarily suck out all the air, but it does like 99% of it. So I put the oxygen absorber inside just to get that last percentage out, make sure I have a dry environment. Let me get up here. Maggie. Yeah, is anybody else experiencing that? If you are, please let me know, because it could be me, and I just need to shut down 1 or 2 more tabs that I have open. Thank you. Yeah, I tell you what, it's got in my older age, I just go for simple. What can I do? And if you don't use the dry ice, it's going to melt anyway. So why not just go ahead and use all of it? That's the best way. Yes, if you're going to do this. Now rats can get through this plastic. They have a little bit harder time through the Mylar bags than they do through the plastic. So the recommendation here by all, and I've got buckets that I can show you in my pantry room. I have the food grade buckets, and these are the ones with the bung tops that I told you I broke trying to open. But what you want to do is you want to put it in that heavy duty plastic because rodents can't get through that heavy duty plastic. So it kind of keeps them protected from odor so that they aren't attracted to rodents or insects. And it gives you a second layer of protection. Now, if you want, you can also vacuum seal that and get a second vacuum seal on that bucket, in addition to the vacuum sealed bags that you've already put inside of it. And that's going to be a phenomenal way of protecting everything for you. Hello, Muskoka Oma. How are you doing? For those of you who don't know, Oma in German is grandma. Okay. Then the last one, and I asked somebody to please remind me to bring it back up again because she ordered some seals. The last one, Project 4, is oven canning. Now, there are two forms of canning. There's pressure canning and oven canning. Oven canning is also referred to as dry canning. So basically what you're doing is you're going to take whatever it is you're canning, you're going to put it inside the jar, you're going to put the seal on top of the jar, you're going to put the ring loose around the jar, then you're going to heat up your oven, and what happens is as the air inside the jar heats up, it expands. Then as soon as it expands, you're going to put that ring down to hold that seal on real tight. Then as it cools, it's going to create a vacuum, and that's what you want. There will still be a little bit of residual oxygen in it. It's not the best seal that there is, but it's a good seal, okay? And this is going to, I think these four things are not only important for getting your food right now to prepare for whatever's coming up, but remember, at some point, we're going to run out of our stored foods, and we're going to be dependent upon our gardens. Gardens, at least here in Texas, don't go year-round. So we're going to have excess garden produce and be able to can that to store it for long-term use over whatever season is inappropriate for that vegetable where it doesn't grow until we can grow another crop. Okay, so you're going to need a lot of canning supplies, a lot of storage supplies, just empty or reusable at least as a result, so that you can start canning the things in your longer term after you've used up everything you've got stored up, and after we start relying on hunting, fishing, trapping, foraging, and farming and gardening. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to have a way of long-term storage of your excess that you want to have. So, dry canning is going to be important. You can probably do that in a Dutch oven. You can probably do that in your regular canning pressure canner. Just don't put the lid on tight. I would also plan on doing that in like the little Instafire oven that I have. That's going to be great because the pint-sized jars just fit in there perfect. So you can do it in that. You also might want to consider pressure canning. And so with pressure canning, you're going to have a water bath down below. It's going to create steam. That pressure is going to cause everything to basically cook. And then it's going to be the same thing. You're going to have hotter inside the jar, pushing the air out. It's going to form the seals. And then you've got a good preservation system. So with that, here's what I think you need to do. Here's what I'm doing. No, I said that wrong. I'm sorry. Here's what I think I need to do. Here's what I am doing. I have, and they come in boxes of 24, okay? So I have 120. I have 5 cases of extra canning jars. Now, I bought those with seals and lids already on them, okay? I have 120 extra lids. That's the O-ring part that you screw on, okay? Has a hole in the middle where the seal is. And then I have over 1,000 seals. And the reason I'm doing it this way is because I think those 120 cans, along with, like I buy Prega, no, what's the name of it? There's a certain tomato pasta sauce that we buy because it comes in a 1-quart canning jar. And so that's the primary. It's a good taste, but we buy it primarily for the 1-quart canning jars. And I have a whole bunch of those. So so that's the reason we buy that. So I'm always getting in new canning jars that way. And of course, it had the old. It has the one-piece lid, so you got to throw that away. But you can accept the standard seal and ring. Oh, that's another thing. You're going to have two different sizes. You got standard size, and then you got the jumbo size. So you got to make sure you have the same size jars, lids, and seals, and that you have those in ample quantities, so that you can continue to can your produce, your live food, your fish, and everything else in a post-apocalyptic world. Some of the things in the oven canning: do not use plastic cleaning lids. It's not a safe method of preserving anything other than dried goods. Okay, do not use this method for canning wet foods, fruits, vegetables, meats, unless they have been thoroughly dehydrated. Be sure to label your jars with the contents, date, canned, and how to prepare them. So here's another thing, and I would encourage you to invest in a vacuum sealer. And there are several different manufacturers out there. You can probably even find some at your local thrift stores. But one of the things that we do here, and this is something that those of you who there are only one or two in your family there, this is something you might do too. We go shopping at Costco and at Sam's on Mondays, because that's when they mark their meat down, because most people shop on Saturday and Sunday. So on Monday, they want to get rid of it. They want to start restocking and everything else. So we go buy the meat that's on sale on Monday. Yesterday, we went to Costco and we picked up, I think it was 8 pounds of pork chops, and we picked up 3 pounds of bacon, and we picked up, I think it was 4 pounds of ground beef, Black Angus. And so what I do is then we bring those home, of course, get everything all sanitized and cleaned and everything else. And I cut the bags to size, and then I take parchment paper. No, I'm sorry, not parchment paper, wax paper. I take wax paper and cut wax paper to the size of whatever it is that I'm going to be vacuum sealing. So since there's two of us, we make the hamburger patties. Then we put one patty on the bottom of whatever the package we're sealing, the plastic like this thing. And so we'll put one patty on the bottom. We'll put a piece of wax paper so we can separate them a lot easier in between. And then we'll put the other patty on top. Then we'll vacuum seal that. Now, because one of the things I want you to be aware of is make sure you have a good quality vacuum sealer, because when you have fresh meat, and I don't care what kind of fresh meat it is, when you have fresh meat, you're going to have an awful lot of blood coming up that's going to be sucked out of that bag through the vacuum sealing process. And so you're going to have to make sure you sanitize everything real well when you get done as well. You don't want to create any germs that way. Then you can seal it, and that way when you open it up, and then you're going to mark with and I use this big heavy one here. Is it still over there? I think I left it over there where I was. Yeah, there it is, where I was labeling everything. So I use this big Sharpie, and I will write down what it is, how many there are inside, and when I vacuum sealed it. And then that goes on both sides of the package, and then it goes off into the freezer. So, that's one of the things you can do. When you have something like this, okay, like cornmeal or flour or anything that is a powder, basically kind of substance, you try to leave it in the original packaging if possible, because if you take it out and put it in this bag and then vacuum seal it, all those little granules are going to get sugar, flour, cornmeal. It's all going to get sucked up inside the mechanisms of your vacuum sealer. You don't want to do that. So we're using basically the paper as a filter so that it holds all the stuff you don't want to get into your suction machine, out of your suction machine, while it's getting all the air out of your vacuum sealer bag. So that's kind of where we are. Those are the first 4 chapters. It's all about preserving the food that you have. And let me see if there's any more comments here. Faxer says he puts everything in Mylar bags or vacuum seals on the oxygen absorbers. Don't think you can save them in an unopened package. They won't last years, even unopened. No, you can't. And that's the other thing is most of them you're going to buy them in quantities of 50 or 100, and they come in kind of like a little Ziploc pouch. So you want to try to have like a vacuum sealing day where you're going to use as many of those as possible, as quickly as possible, into as many bags as possible. Because even with that Ziploc bag, they're probably going to use up all their oxygen absorption capability within 6 months, even in the Ziploc bag. So you want to try to get all that done quickly, or else you're going to waste them. What you may find is even later on, let's say I did a project last month, okay, and I put in oxygen absorbers, and I'm going to do a project next month and put in more oxygen. Well, I used half of them, so the other half are in that Ziploc bag. Plan on using 2 that are remaining from in that opened Ziploc bag, the one that you unsealed, let's put it that way. So you used your first half, you've got the other half left. They're in a Ziploc bag, but not sealed. And this is a good case where you might want to vacuum seal and put it in one of these bags. And gosh, I just thought of that. Why haven't I been doing that all this time? Put your oxygen absorbers inside here, vacuum seal the bag, and then seal it up here. And it would cause your doggone, it'll cause your oxygen absorbers to last a lot longer. Otherwise, you have to use 2 later on instead of just 1 to get rid of the same amount of oxygen. Wow, thank you, people. That's a great idea. Thank you for sharing that. I think I'll try that. Let me see. So good luck there, Utah Mike, especially in winter. I found it, I spray peppermint around the perimeter where I store food. It started to, like a deterrent lately. Even the raccoons have stopped coming. That's good. I did not know that. Peppermint. Fiactor says he heard Pinball talking about that as well. Yes, so water bath or steam canning is the best thing to do for vegetables, fruits, meats, and things like that. And you're going to need a pressure cooker for that. So, and so I recommend that you get a small stove. I probably would not try to use a pressure cooker in an open fire pit outside, but you can use maybe on a grill with charcoal or on a stove you're going to use specifically for that, because you do want to regulate the amount of heat to it so that you can control the pressure. You're going to have, pressure cap or pressure gauge or whatever, but pressure cookers scare the living daylights out of me. So I am overly cautious when I'm around a pressure cooker. Let me see. Okay, so Muskoka Uma prefers pressure canning and Mylar. Okay, 4 jars lids because they say they are reusable. Oh, wow. Let me know how that works. Hopefully we'll have a little bit of time to study that. Let me write that down. 4 jars. Great idea. Thank you. Okay. After dealing with mice, I now have sticky traps set in my food area. I can understand that. I've got a sticky trap on the back porch, trying to catch one. So Maggie says she still cans, which is great. I think we need to have all of these ways of preserving food available to us. Another one and it's not mentioned, and I'm kind of surprised that he didn't, but maybe it's only because it primarily applies to meat, is salting. And so I am buying like 4 pounds of pickling salt almost every week now, in anticipation that I'll have to salt some meat, whether it be deer or cow or whatever, sometime in the future. We just won't be able to eat it all. So it'll either be pressure canning or salting. And as a matter of fact, I wanted to get a pork belly and try salting my own bacon. We'll get there. I haven't. It was $30 for a pork belly. I figured, man, I can make a lot of bacon with that. But at the same time, that's an awful lot of meat to experiment with. So I don't know. I've got to build up the courage, I think. Do I think storing the sealed food in those aluminum popcorn tins they sell at Christmas would keep rodents out? Yes, it'll keep rodents out, but it may not be a good seal as far as keeping oxygen out. And I use, we go through those butter cookies, Danish butter cookies that they sell at Christmas. We go through those like you would not believe. I used to get one of those big tins of popcorn every year for Christmas. And so I've got plenty of those in the storage room. I'm now using those. I keep a lot of my nutrient supply individual meals in those. I keep a lot of my candle making supplies in those. I keep all of my yeast. I take my yeast and put it in this. And then after I put it in that, then I put it in one of those tins. So, and then, well, that's some of my yeast. Most of my yeast is actually in the freezer. What else do I keep in those tins? First aid supplies. So I use them for a lot of things. And yeah, for that specific reason, they have a tendency to keep rodents out of them. I think all of us are interested in that. Ms. Kokama is we'll have her come back and tell us how those lids work. Hello, Andy. Welcome from Chile. Oh, I know. Gosh, you guys, I'm so sorry. And we have the opposite problem here on our West Coast. So California is being inundated with floods, and those rains are moving this way. So we're expected to be having those flooding rains here probably within the next 36 hours. So I wish we could share some of the rains with you to put out your fires. And we're praying for you. How's that? You are in our thoughts, you're in our prayers, and certainly we hope that the loss, especially of human life, is kept to a minimum. The LDS Provident Living Stores a long time ago, when I first was in this, allowed you to do your own canning. They had the canning machines there where you could actually, you had the oxygen absorbers to put it in there. Then you could actually seal the can yourself of the contents, and you were buying it bulk and then canning it yourself. Something happened, and they don't do that anymore. You have to buy them all pre-canned. But I would be interested in the ability to do my own number 10 cans. But you're buying number 10 cans. I think that's a wise decision. Let me see. So regular mouth and wide mouth lids. Make sure you also get all the funnels and everything else you need to fit stuff down inside there. I found out the hard way. There are some things that just do not naturally pour or want to cooperate going into some of the smaller containers. And I've wasted a little bit before I finally said, I give up. I'm going to go spend the money on the right funnels and everything else. Yeah, Costco and Sam's both. We have in Austin, down on 183, Highway 183, Research Boulevard. I think it's Research and Burnett, right in that area. It might be Great Hills, on the corner of Great Hills and Research. We have a Costco and a Sam's right next doors to each other. So that Sam's sells its products at a cheaper price than any other Sam's in the 5-county area. And the reason is so they can compete with Costco. But that's going to cost me $20 in gas to get down there and back. So if I'm not going to have more than $20 in savings, it's not $20 in savings more than what I would get going to Costco, then it's not worth it. But, we have both. We have Costco and Sam's Club. I like going to both. We alternate. We'll go to Costco one Monday, and we'll go to Sam's the following. We do have a new Costco up I-35. I don't like it because it doesn't have a liquor store, whereas the Costco over in Pflugerville has a liquor store with it and good prices. So I'm not a big drinker. I did buy a bottle of whiskey for my son-in-law for Christmas there. And I do have some stuff here just in case I need to do it for for trading, for bartering. But I'm sorry, I just don't. I don't care for the taste. I'm addicted to the sweet water. That's. And as a matter of fact, I don't even do soda pop that much anymore. It ruined my teeth, and I blame the vast majority of my aches and pains in my teeth to the acid in soda water. So I just drink my NutraSweet types artificial sweetened water. Let me see here. So Maggie just ordered chickens and beef from Azure Market. I have not yet ordered from them. I have set up an account with them. I want to get a 55-gallon bucket because I want to use that to burn my refuse out in the backyard. So I've got one of those, and gosh, they were inexpensive, like $18, I think, for a 55-gallon oil drum, and that you can use. It's food grade. But anyhow, I've got to get my Azure Standard order in. One of these days, Maggie, call me, email me. Let's share some ideas on what you think are the really best buys at Azure Standard and what I should get as my first purchase. I'd be happy to learn from you. Oh, gosh, Muskoka, Oma, I am so sorry. I hope things go well for you, and wish you great success. And I hope I pray for a cure. So hopefully that will resolve any issues that you have, and that you will be returned to full strength. Golly, gosh, you guys are chatty tonight. That's great. Just Arizona says that her husband's mother did water bath canning. My aunts and uncles up in Missouri did that quite a bit, and I've got to get my cousins to teach me how to do it. Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. That I would rather have something that has a controlled amount of heat, so you can keep a consistent pressure, rather than relying on an open fire or relying on charcoal. Although charcoal to me would make a lot more sense than an open fire. But yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is you want to have one of those nice flames that is adjustable and controllable, so you can control the temperature. Okay, let me get down here and see where we are. Yes, pickling salt can be used for curing meat. It can also be used for canning. Pink salt is best for meat preserving, absolutely, but the other can be used. Unfortunately, you are absolutely right, Little Lone Prepper. Unfortunately, here in Texas, we've maybe got an inch to 2 inches of topsoil, and then we get into bedrock. And so we don't have that much to where we can get root cellars. Finding anything root cellarish here is going to be either a karst or a cavern. As a matter of fact, up I-35, the next town up, there is a, what do they call it? Interspace caverns. And basically what happens, remember, this area was all underwater a long time ago. And so you have all these karsts and you have all these underground caverns and everything else, which was water basically going through. And so we have a lot of artesian wells around here as well, coming from the upper elevations down through the subterranean rivers, and then they come up to the surface here. But anyhow, we have interspace caverns. And the way they found it was they were doing surveys for I-35, the corridor where they were going to build I-35, and they had to drill down 25 feet to make sure that there was a foundation of 25 feet depth in order to support the weight of the freeway. And they kept losing their drill bits in this one area. So they said, "Oh, what's going on here?" So they finally dug a hole big enough diameter where they could go down, and they found out they were inside a natural cavern, but it had a natural opening, a karst to it. So now you go down there and you can see underground tours of the underground here in Central Texas, except when it rains, and that's when it floods. There is, and I am not an expert on it, but I tell you what I will do. I know that iodized salt cannot be used for certain things, that it's supposed to be only used as a table salt. The two best all-around salts that you can use for pickling and for canning and for table salt and everything else are the Himalayan pink salt and then the sea salt. So those two are supposed to be good, just fantastic all-around salts. Now they don't have the iodine in them that supposedly protects certain things within your body. So that's, and I'm not even sure if what I just said is accurate, but that's my understanding. So let me see here. Yeah, you're up there in the tornado area. We did have a tornado come down into Round Rock. Oh gosh, I was working at Dell at the time, so this had to be like 1997, I think. Yeah, it was the Gerald tornado, that F5 that hit Gerald, where my sister lives. That came down, split into three, and one of them came straight down I-35, and I was at Dell at the time, working at Dell. And so I think that's the furthest south that I've seen one happen in this area. But and that was like, what is that? That's Highway 45 and Interstate 35, where they intersect, is basically where the Dell campus is. So it came down that far. There was another tornado that went through that area here. It wasn't an F5, but it went through here 3 or 4 years ago, tore up the Bank of America. It was in the Walmart parking lot. And this is like 2 blocks from Dell. So Dell's been almost hit twice with tornadoes. Yes, Kirkland is Costco brand. Kirkland coffee is the best coffee for the price you're going to find. If I'm not mistaken, and correct me, when I was at Fort Huachuca, Arizona, back in the late 80s, we used to go into Tucson to a place called Price Club. And I think Price Club evolved and turned into Costco, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's one and the same entity. They just kind of expanded and grew. Oh wow, Maggie B, you make me jealous. And I haven't gotten that far yet. I have what I'm doing. I bought a book and it's called Humanure, Humanure, and I'm trying to learn how to compost some of the human waste. Oh, we're in an hour and 15 minutes. Oh my gosh, I am so sorry to keep you this long, people. I am so sorry. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Well, I hope you got something out of this evening. Golly, an hour and 15 minutes, and I didn't even notice it. Thank you so much for your interest. Thank you so much for your participation. What a great group of people we have. Thank you for being kind, polite, and respectful to each other. I really, really appreciate that. And Maggie says her compost is working great. We got to talk. We got to talk. I really want to get into composting, especially human waste. Because I think that's going to be a big problem in the future in an SHTF type of an environment. Book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24, 25, 26. The Lord keep you and bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace. Do me a favor. We have a couple people in the chat who are either having surgery or are ill, and we've had a molar tooth extraction. Keep those people in your prayers. Pray for their health and rapid recovery. And if you aren't a believer, then at least just have good thoughts. Send good vibes their way. So, thank you so much for keeping them and their health in your mind, and maybe together we can have a positive influence on their recovery. So thank you all for being here so much. I greatly appreciate it. For all you new people, if you would hit the like and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. Help the channel out a lot. And then we can start doing more of these. Next week, we're going to do chapters 5, 6, 7, and 8. I may ask Phaeoxerus to come on and for him to lead the discussion next week. We never can tell. And I think Triple G Farms has the book as well. We might get him to come on and read and have a discussion on this. So let's see what we can do. Remember, we're all in this together so we can come out the other side together. Please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other. Pray for those who aren't feeling well. Keep them in your thoughts. Send positive vibes, because we're all going to get through this together. Bye-bye. And all these warnings that show up, that I've got all these different YouTube things. There we go. I got rid of those. Now I can end the stream. Bye-bye.